and welcome to a brand new episode of the Daily Debate. My name is Ahmed Nader, and tonight we'll be focusing on the economic reform program implemented under the tenure and under the leadership of President Abdel al-Sisi, leading to be Egypt having the possibility of realizing the full potential of industry in the country. We'll be focusing and shedding more light on the future of industry and trade and the economy in general in the country, building new cities, having more and more roads and building infrastructure all over the country, building roads and bridges, linking the country all together with the other neighboring countries and with the outside world. And all of this is leading to be attracting more foreign direct investments. We'll be having the first report of the Daily Debate for tonight, as President Abdel al-Sisi directed to be having and expanding and having more and more industrial complexes in the new cities and in the new areas as well. We'll be having more information about those directives by President al-Sisi in the upcoming report, so stay tuned.
President Abdel al-Sisi has directed the government to expand a plan for establishing industrial complexes in new areas across the country, as well as to provide the necessary financial resources in order to integrate the system of industrial complexes with a strategy to increase local components in products. The President gave the directives at a meeting with Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli and Minister of Trade and Industry, Niveen Gema. Presidential spokesman Ambassador Bassam Radi stated that the meeting touched on the efforts made by the government to expand domestic production, that's in addition to the national program for import substitution. It's worth mentioning that President al-Sisi issued directives for conducting in-depth studies on the transfer of modern industrial technology in high-priority fields by going into partnership with major international companies in a way that ensures the sustainability of industries in Egypt in the long term. The head of state also gave orders for upgrading the system of industrial technical schools and enhancing the capabilities of their staff through cooperation with the private sector. According to the President's directives, the coming stage will represent a great opportunity for the return of the Egyptian industry, the very thing that will result into restoring its influence within the national economy by taking advantage of the current opportunities to deepen it. Egypt aims to expand making production and industry inputs locally and meet the needs of national projects and other sectors, expansion of production to cover domestic demand, and founding production lines that meet the requirements of all levels through Egyptian high-quality brands. No doubt, the strong and ambitious will of the country to achieve sustainable development is reflected in the increase in foreign investments in various sectors.
Welcome back. You're still watching the Daily Debate on Nile TV International, focusing tonight on the efforts of the political leadership under the tenure of President Abdel al-Sisi to be having better living conditions for the Egyptians all over the country. One of those initiatives to be reaching that goal is Hayat Karima, or a decent life, as we did see in the past break, and to be shedding more light on the economic activities in Egypt in general in the past few years. I'm honored to be having with me tonight in the studio Dr. Nabil Abdel, Moula, Professor of Projects and Business Manager. Thank you very much for being with us tonight on the Daily Debate.
Being with you.
The pleasure is all mine. As we did see in the past break, Hayat Karima, the initiative launched by President Abdel al-Sisi, targeting about 58 million Egyptians, about 58% of the Egyptian population, specifically located in the Egyptian countryside and the villages. How do you see the Decent Life initiative?
The Decent Life initiative expresses actually the current impression for the for the government, for the Egyptian people, for the President Sisi himself. That, if you remember, one day he said, they tell us that we are poor. So he decided from that time, they put a shame on us that we
it's
have.
like an insult.
That's
we
correct.
Needed to change
they tried to insult us that we got poverty. From that day, he started to work hard, and this is exactly what's happening nowadays. Is just a reflection for the general policy of the government itself, that we should all be living in a decent life.
At the beginning of the daily debate for tonight, I said that we are focusing on the building of new villages, building new cities, building new roads, access, the infrastructure in general, the economy in general. But during the break, Sharif Arafa, the director, he said that Haya Karima, or a Decent Life initiative, it is not just about building roads or building infrastructure, it's about hope. How did he see the hope being restored to the Egyptians, and for the outside to see, or the outside world to see that the Egyptians are standing on their feet once again under the tenure of President Sisi through one of those initiatives is Haya Karima, or a Decent Life?
Talking about this will lead us to talk about a very important initiative which reflects all what we want to say in very simple words, which is that localization of the national industry.
Yes.
We all know, and we have to admit and confirm, that the national economy, the national industry, is the backbone of any economy in the world, which reflects the needs of the market, the viability of the market, the validity of the people, the needs of the people themselves, which focus and reflect exactly what you said.
The industry. The main topic for tonight is the Egyptian industry, the Egyptian economy, specifically the directives of President Abdel Sisi that we need to expand the industrial complexes, specifically and especially at the new areas being built. How do you see those directives?
There would be an expansion for the major initiative, which is localization of the industry itself. Localizations means that we have to start producing and manufacturing whatever we can in specific sectors, whatever we can do jointly between local governments, local companies,
yes,
manufacturers, and international players and international companies in the meantime, to start the industry, to start producing the international products locally in the local market, according to the needs, according to the availability of the raw material, and according to the importance of the technology itself in Egypt.
How can industry, among the other sectors in Egypt, be fighting the unemployment and providing more job opportunities, as we did see under the tenure of President Sisi in the past 7 or 8 years?
When we look into the localization of the industry itself, you will find that we have different sectors of localization of the industry. One of those localizations which would be applied here, which is being applied here in Egypt or anywhere else, when you create jobs, when you start localizing or doing localization for specific industries using the labor-intensive industry. And that will be chosen in specific areas like the suburb, like mountain oil, and so on, areas in that mean.
Yes. President Sisi also directed to be having a substitution or a substitute for the imports. Import substitution, to be depending on the local industry. How can this be achieved as soon as possible, because we need it?
And that concern, we have to admit that the backbone of that issue is supporting the feeding industries for different industries in different sectors. And if you have looked into the different sectors which the government or President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has given his instructions to start with,
Yes.
you will find it in different areas: armament, in chemical, pharmaceutical, in automotive, in transport and car, in different areas.
To
and
be
sectors.
lessening the imports and of course the money going out of the country for the other countries from all over the world. How can this be beneficial for the industry of Egypt in the future?
Okay, when you start right now by producing whatever the industry needs and localizing the industry or a specific industry you need right now, like technology. You know, in technology we have which is called the semiconductors. In that field, when you know that we try to, or the government tried to localize the industry in that sector by using Egyptian components and Egyptian components
Yes.
in a specific percentage, and the same concept will be applied on different sectors. That means while you are localizing the industry, the national industry, or localizing specific industries, you will be in badly need for components to be produced locally and well. When you say that a specific industry would need 70%, 60%, X%, whatever the percentage,
Yes.
that means you will need such percentage to be produced locally in Egypt.
70%, 60% produced in Egypt, but one of the directives of President al-Sisi is to be transferring the modern technology of the different sectors and specifically the industry or the high priority fields to Egypt and the Egyptians for the future, to be building the whole component 100% built in Egypt. How do you see those directives?
Those directives would tell us that Egypt is planning to be 100% sufficient one day from the in-depth knowledge and the know-how for the industries that we already in badly need for. This is the major directive.
We did see cooperation and coordination with international companies in the fields of electricity. For example, we had outages in 2012 and the beginning of 2013 till the June 30th revolution. Coordination and cooperation in building and constructing roads and bridges and tunnels leading to Sinai, as we did see from Sharqiya to Sinai, from Port Said and Ismailia to Sinai. We had coordination with international companies from different countries. One of them is Germany, China specifically, building the new administrative capital. How do you see the coordination between Egypt as a government and the international companies, the private sector from all over the world, under the tenure of President al-Sisi?
That again would take us to the point, to the very important point and issue, which is localization of the national industry. When you look into the national industry, which we are trying, the government is trying to localize and have already started to localize, you can have a very good idea that we are cooperating and coordinating with China, with Russia, with USA, Britain, UK, I mean, France, Norway, Hungary.
Yes.
You can find too many different countries are cooperating with Egypt for the localization of the needed industries. We need the government needs to start here, even for the technology sector.
Yes.
That also, even for the army sector, that's also, even in army you can find specific products which had already now almost 73% of locally produced components to be produced in Egypt. For the nuclear power, for example, the nuclear station power, which is being done, yeah, correct.
With Russia.
That's correct. There are terms and conditions to be applied and to be followed, with starting from teaching the Egyptian scientists and Egyptian calibers how to use it, how to make it, locally produced components. That's actually the main stream for the current presidency, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and his government.
But what does this say about Egypt, the image of Egypt to the world as a foreign direct investment hub, that we can attract foreign direct investments into the country and keep them and make it useful for you as well as an investor?
That's correct, a positive 100%, because you got very important two issues here. Number one, you got a big market,
yes,
which is 100 and something million Egyptian people are living, needs to eat, drink, live, drive, do whatever they want on daily life, on daily basis for their lifestyle. Number two, you are the hub for the African continent and your bilateral agreements and the mutual agreements with different parties in Africa. And one of the most important issues in worldwide trade nowadays is you got Suez Canal, which is the hub for the meeting point for Asia, for Europe, for Africa, for whatever it is, with all the facilities the current government is providing for the investors.
You've mentioned the Suez Canal. We have to speak about the new Suez Canal, the second Suez Canal, which was implemented and dug under the leadership of President al-Sisi. And we know that there are more achievements and enhancing to the Suez Canal under its current leadership after what happened with the Evergreen ship. How do you see the process of developing the Suez Canal in general under the tenure of President al-Sisi, and ever since the problem and the success of the Egyptian leadership and the Egyptian leadership of the Suez Canal Authority, Rear Admiral Osama Rabia, in solving the crisis?
It was very wise from the Egyptian government, number one. Number two, it was very wise from the head of Suez Canal Economic Authority, Osama Rabia.
Yes.
It was very fair. We have looked into the problem first. We have solved the problem in a very short time. Even the whole world started to talk about how Egypt proceeded and solved the issue itself, how people solved the problem itself, how we overcame, and the way we treated and overcame that issue.
Yes.
Number two, when you come into the arbitration, it was very clear and very flexible in the meantime. Those are our rights.
And it was concluded very fast.
That's correct. That means Egypt is telling the whole world, I'm open, we are flexible, we know what we're doing, we are secure and we are safe. We are building something very safe and secure and flexible and profitable for the whole world.
And it was announced that there will be enhancement to the process of the shipping lanes itself to be going back and forth, the north and south convoys of the Suez Canal. How do you see the future of the Suez Canal and the new Suez Canal now?
We can see the future from that accident, actually. You can think and read and know more about what was a few countries and few opinions saying about new Suez Canal before the Evergreen accident. That the Suez Canal is not important. The Suez Canal is just so and so. But afterward, when the new Suez Canal had started for a very short time, the whole world started to scream. And then afterward, even the trade and the vessels itself started to increase. That means this is the real future. The whole world realized that it is real. We are here. It's safer for you to pass by and use the new Suez Canal and the old one.
How do you think President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi managed to be presenting Egypt as a model of success ever since 2013 and 2014 and his tenure as a president of Egypt?
In very simple word, Egypt has a vision. Egypt has very strict steps. We are going to achieve it.
Yes.
Nothing else will stop us. Whatever happen, whatever circumstances, whatever surround Egypt itself, but whatever surrounds Egypt, something we are working on it, very clear, very aware, and still working locally for the advancement of the Egyptian people and for the advancement and benefits of the whole world.
Yes, planning and having a clear vision and a clear agenda.
Very clear.
One aspect of this plan to be having foreign direct investments into Egypt once again and more every year is the new investment law, because we need legislations, as you mentioned, to be making things easier and faster in having more investments and to be doubling the investments for the investors who come into Egypt. How do you see the legislations as well that were passed in the past few years?
Actually, that was one of the government challenges for the future, that they have started working on different legislation, starting from trying to find a methodology for solving the problems of the investors themselves. If there is any kind of arbitration would be done immediately. There is one place, one location, very clear. Whomever have a problem, something, so they have to hit it, to stand for it.
Yes.
In the meantime, whatever laws, decrees required, it would be sent to the assembly, to the parliament,
Yes.
to the president himself, to the minister of investments, and we are working on it nowadays, starting from that date, as a whole one body, not different areas, which we used to in the past.
One of the directives of President Abdel al-Sisi in the past few years and weeks, more specifically, is that we need the industrial schools to be having more momentum in the country, not just about having a degree and working in another field, as we did see in Egypt in the past few years. There is a change of mentality, a change of mindset, that we need skilled workers, the industrial schools. How do you see the future of those schools and the decision of the youth to be going into them?
Talking about industrial technical schools and developing the skills, that would take us first to talk about the national localization, the localization of promising industries. Because when you talk and when you know, when we all know what kind of industries we are looking for, what kind of industries we are looking to localize in Egypt, that would give us a clear idea about how important would be developing the skills of the technical, industrial technical schools and so on. When we talk about the promising industries, you can look into the technology and information, the high tech.
Yes.
Which we have already started with the tablet and the mobile phone. We have started localization for promising industries, which include tractors.
To be building.
Here, yeah.
Yes.
To be localized.
Made in Egypt.
Yeah, correct. Bus industry, hydrogen peroxide, pharmaceutical industry, chemical, different industries. You can. All such industries means lots of equipments, lots of machines, lots of know-how, lots of technical know-how, in-depth knowledge, needs more qualified and technical staff.
And lots of job opportunities for the youth too.
That's correct. That lead to the fact that we have to develop. That's why it's a comprehensive policy.
Yes.
It's very clear vision. That's why when you talk in a subject, it takes you to the other one. When you talk to the other one, it takes you to the third one, and so on. That means the current government, the current leadership, actually, they have very clear and very strict vision.
Yes, and one aspect of this vision is the economic stability would lead to the stability and the security of the Egyptian citizens. And we will be seeing in the upcoming report the directives of President Abdel al-Sisi that the economic stability should be sustained to be ensuring the stability and security of the country. So let's see it.
President Abdel al-Sisi directed the government to keep up economic performance rates in order to ensure stable monetary and financial conditions in the country. President al-Sisi's directives came during his meeting with Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli, Finance Minister Mohammed Mait, Deputy Finance Minister for Fiscal Policies Ahmed Kushuk, and others, according to presidential spokesman Ambassador Bassam Radi. President al-Sisi stressed the importance of regularly updating and upgrading the management of GDP data to accurately monitor different aspects of economic development in Egypt. The president also highlighted the significance of increasing funds embarked for public investments to meet the development targets listed in Egypt's Vision 2023. The meeting reviewed the economic performance and fundamentals for the fiscal year 2020-2021, which showed that the government had managed to increase its revenues by 12.2% to 119 billion Egyptian pounds, about $7.6 billion, in addition to increasing its primary surplus by 1.4% to 93.1 billion Egyptian pounds, that is about $5.9 billion. The budget deficit was also narrowed to 7.4%, down from 8%. Thanks to the success of the first phase of the economic reform program that Egypt launched in 2021, which focuses on raising the competitiveness of three main sectors, including manufacturing, agriculture, communications, and information technology, to increase their contribution to the GDP. It's worth mentioning that the second phase of the structural reforms program aims to raise investment rates in the manufacturing sector in a sustainable manner, increase its participation in the gross domestic product, localize and deepen industry, develop local supply chains, and integrate a higher stage in global and regional value chains, and increasing the international competitiveness of manufacturing industries and promoting industrial exports.
Welcome back. You're still watching the daily debate. As we did see in the past report, the directives of President Abdel al-Sisi to the government and Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli and the Minister of Finance Dr. Mohammed Mait to be keeping up the economic performance rates, to be ensuring the stability on the long term in Egypt. Dr. Nabil Abdel, Moula, how did you see those directives? And more specifically, as we are tonight focusing on industry and the potential of industry in Egypt, what are the main industries that could be leading the economy in the upcoming years?
That would take us to to know more about what kind of industry we have started as Egyptian government. Yes. And the leader, President Abdel al-Sisi, to start localizing in Egypt for the benefits of Egypt. Number one, telecommunication and information technology sector.
Yes.
We have already started by the tablets. We have settled the tablets in industry in Egypt, and the mobile phones. And you have a very big market in this, especially when you are trying to automate the exams and so on for the education. In industrial technology,
yes,
transport and transport sector, tractors and train cars, automotive industry, which is too many brands are being produced and manufactured in Egypt, electric buses and cars, which take us to Al Nasr company and,
yes,
and others. Electric cars with China, Russia, Belarus. It's not only one country. Each country has specific advantages and disadvantages. So Egypt is trying to make sure that they are using the best out of in the world. And the localization of the engine industry, which is very important for the railway. Engine industry and different sectors. Industry and the establishment of assembly line for diesel engines. With capacity of 15 to 200, which is perfect,
yes,
for the industry and for the transport and so on. In cooperation with the company Helwan Diesel Engine, that means you are reviving again the companies which you had to role. Even in the armament sector, you can imagine that we are producing different products, different items with the army, in different, in USA, France, and so on. At the beginning, with the manufacture of Egyptian weapon developed with percentage of local components more than 60%. So you are producing right now, manufacturing with more than 60% Egyptian component.
Yes.
Prelude to the localization of the entire industry on the homeland.
100%.
In
the future.
Later on, correct, yes. At a cost of 3 billion Egyptian pounds, the defense industry complex, that's one of the industrial complex which have been announced that we are doing industrial complexes and nationwide,
yes,
was built next to the northeastern section of Cairo's Ring Road. Joint cooperation with the United States of America resumed joint production of M1A1 tanks, which is very important. The joint manufacturing for a plan for few cranes manufactured by the Egyptian company for the repair of construction of cranes itself. That means you're trying to depend or rely on yourself, regardless whomever is doing what for you.
The substitution of imports.
That's correct. It's a part of the substitution of the imports.
Yes.
Cooperation with France was maritime, which is awesome, actually. It was decided that the French side would build 4 guided frigates. Wonderful. Within the Alexandria Naval Arsenal. You can imagine what kind of technology, what kind of know-how, what kind of investments you are preparing the stage for.
Yes.
Egypt is also cooperating with Britain for the joint manufacturing of the self-propelled Hators D-30 light field cannon with light moving forces, in addition to the cooperating with China. You can understand now, we all can understand that we are dealing with whom, even...
And there is diversity to be dealing from whoever throughout the entire world.
That's correct. East, west, north, south. Joint manufacturing of the K-8E advanced training aircraft and the factories of the Arab Manufacturing Authority. And the percentage of the Egyptian component, you can imagine, in the manufacture of fuselage is scheduled to reach more than 94%. Chemical sector, localizing the hydrogen peroxide industry, the exploitation of hydrogen gas resulting from the chlorine industry. The imported value was 15,200 tons.
Yes.
That means all such hard currency you were paying for 15,200 tons, you are going to see it. It's going to be listened. Space sector, remote sensing. Egypt intends to break into space, or broke into space, and started to manufacture satellites jointly with different countries. Was the first step in establishing the Egyptian
We have a space agency at the new administrative capital.
That was the step for establishing the space agency, correct?
Yes.
In the field of energy, in the sector of energy, localization also started. The Ministry of Military Production is working on roadmap to localize new technology, namely concentrated solar energy. It's wonderful. So you are bringing the whole world in different sectors. Electronic games, even the electronic games.
Before we go, those industries, we have a vision, yes, but there's also specific places, areas that we need to build, as you've mentioned, building city for leather, for example, at Rubeki, to be correct. Building a city for the chemicals, for drugs, for each sector and each industry, they have a specific place. Why do you think this is happening?
Firstly, the localization, what you've been talking about right now is about localization and different methodology. That means we got, for the leather production, for example, they have moved all the in New Center Cairo and in the old Center Cairo, they have moved all the leather factories and companies to the Rubeki in Badr City.
From Magra Layoun.
Yeah, correct. It was in Magra Layoun. Number two, they have removed or they have started the furniture city in New Damietta.
Yes.
Damietta used to be very well known, but randomly very well known for the people they have been raised that we are producing furniture. But currently, there is a furniture city in New Damietta.
Yes.
And so on. So this is a new type of localization.
The same vision is being replicated in different industries and sectors. Dr. Nabil Abdel, the Professor of Projects and the Business Manager, thank you very much for being with us tonight on the Daily Debate.
The pleasure is mine. Thank you very much, and thanks for your audience.
Anytime. And this brings us to the end of the Daily Debate for tonight. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.